So maybe we'll begin. So once again, I welcome you all for today's session. Good afternoon, good morning, based on wherever you are. Today's session is going to focus on speeding up of local energy transition, tools and case studies. So this case study is, this session is organized by the Asia Leads Partnership in partnership with various other partners such as ICLEI Kaohsiung Capacity Center, Ministry of Economic Affairs, Chinese Taipei, and other parties. I'll speak about them in the coming slides. Before we move on with the presentation, we would like to set up the context of this particular presentation. As we all know, cities account for more than half of the global population and accounts for more than 70% of the emissions, GHG emissions. And urban areas are continuing to grow. It will further increase 1.5 times by 2045 as per World Bank reports. So there is a pressing need for us to manage the cities in a better way, which is contributing to a lot of emissions. But the challenge is we don't have a lot of tools at the city level for managing this energy transition. This specific session is focusing on local energy governance rating system, which is supposedly the first guideline and tool developed to support cities in the Asia region to move towards the local energy governance and how to better manage this transition. So this specific session will focus about this framework, and this framework was developed by ICLEI Kaohsiung Capacity Center, Industrial Technology Research Institute, ITRI, and International Climate Development Institute. So these organizations have come up with this framework, and this takes into account the various international standards that are available, such as ISO 50001, 2018, ASTRE, IES. There are various standards available in the market globally. So these standards have been accounted in building up this framework, and this has been used by some cities, already put to use. We have lessons from Chinese Taipei and Quezon City. We will see that in today's session. Next slide. So this is the agenda for today. We will have a quick round of brief introduction about this Asia Leads Partnership. Then we will move on to the technical presentation. We have a representative from Industrial Technology Research Institute, Mr. Raymond Sun, who will present on this framework that I just mentioned about. Followed by that, we have my colleague, Ms. Yixing from ICLEI Kaohsiung Capacity Center, who will present on the case study of Chinese Taipei, how it's transitioning, how this energy transition is happening in Chinese Taipei and examples from Chinese Taipei. Followed by that, we have Mr. Irwin from Quezon City, who will present on local energy transition in building sectors. Then we will have a discussion. You can ask questions. You will have an opportunity to interact with the speakers. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. So before handing over these slides to the speakers, a very brief introduction about the Asia Leads Partnership. It's a voluntary regional network. We support the countries in the Asia region to advance in NDC goals, long-term low-emission development strategies in the Asia Pacific region. And we report to Global Climate Action Partnership, which is hosted by National Renewable Energy Laboratory. And this Asia Leads Partnership is hosted by the regional offices of ICLEI. Next slide. So this is a membership-based organization. We have a strong hold in the 14 countries. We have representatives from 65 government agencies, part of this network. And as part of this network, we help in building capacity of the countries. We have several communities of practice focusing on different areas and supporting countries in respective sector. We come up with knowledge products. We enhance, accelerate something good happening in one region to other. We act as an accelerator. We promote several networking events, also provide technical assistance on need basis for developing countries. So these are the communities of practice currently we run. We have under each communities of practice, As you see, energy, finance, subnational integration, clean mobility, building energy efficiency. Every year, we assess the need of countries, and based on the needs, we come up with activities under each of these communities of practice. So this varies, the priority areas varies year on year based on the member needs. This is a quick introduction about the Asia Leads Partnership and about the housekeeping rules for today. Most of the time, the participants will be on mute mode, and at any point of the session, participants can feel free to drop in their questions in Q&A box. And once the presentations are over, during the open discussion, we will allow participants to raise the hand. There's an icon for that. We will unmute you. You can directly ask questions to the speaker. That is also possible. And that's about the housekeeping rules. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, now it's time to introduce our first eminent speaker for today's session. Ting Jui San, or otherwise called Raymond San, is a researcher at Industrial Technology Research Institute, which is the energy think tank of Chinese Taipei. He has more than 10 years of experience in energy policies, programs, and energy economies. Also, he has worked under Institute of Nuclear Energy Research. We would like to hear more from you about this framework, Raymond. Over to you.
Thank you. So I would take over the control, right?
Yes, Raymond.
Okay.
The control to you in a moment.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let me check. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, nice to meet you all. Good evening, and I'm Ting Ruisun from Chinese Taipei. I'm also working in the Industrial Technology Research Institute, ITI. And at the same time, I also serve as another role for the Asia Pacific Energy Research Center. So I'm the Chinese Taipei contact person here, and we usually provide different information for the policymaker in different energy ministry. So that would be our main mission here. So I'm happy to share what we do with the ICLEI, KCC ICLEI, and ICDI, and we develop these tools to facilitating more local governments energy transition work here. So that's today's topics. So before proceeding our agenda, I would like to acknowledge some contributions, including editing, guideline reviewers, and also graphic design proofreading. We cannot work this job without them. So it's pretty important works, which spans maybe 3 years, almost 3 years for completing this guideline. So it's based on so many efforts plus the reviewers contribute. So thank you. And today's topics is energy transition, especially we focus on how these tools, the toolkits, the layers. So we have 3 parts. The first part is the introduction of layers. We will try to answer some questions. What's the layers? How does layers help the local governments? What's the core system of the layers? And what's the benefit that the stakeholders can gain from layers guideline? And the second part is we will have 3 different key elements for Lagos, including how can we work and operate our local energy policy well. And so we have several requirements for energy policy operations. And also for the technical part, we have an energy infrastructure, and also because energy efficiency is the first fuel for all of the countries and cities and regions. So we target building energy management and efficiency as a very important role here. And at the end part, I will conclude this presentation and also share what we do for the next stage. And next slide is this slide just some information from Irina. Irina is already defined what's the energy transitions. It's a pathway towards and shift our energy sector from the fossil fuel based economy to the zero carbon by 2050. So is the definition that Irene mentioned that, and also highlight the 5 elements, including ambitious goals, public support, industry engagements, employment and skill. So it's a 5 main score is very critical for enabling the local government toward a sustainable energy transition. So it means we need clear goals, which should be measurable, it should be quantitative, should be time bound, and relevant to the energy transition. Can be energy efficiency, renewable energy, and we also need public support. I think several participants well recently EU just passed their energy efficiency directives. This is a very critical direct influence thousands of millions of people in UU, and they target the public sector as a very important role for speeding up the energy transition. So it's a reasons it echo Irina's definitions, and we all know industrial participation is very critical because industry is the technical provider. They also provide several solutions at the technical level. So we need a comprehensive and supply chain, including what kind the person can help us install the air conditioning, what kind person can make sure our renewable energy is safe and energy storage is quite secure, and what kind the supply provider can make sure and maintain our energy performance at the building level well. So that will be work industry need to solve for the government. And but because this work is so important, so we need more professional. So it's also reasons we need to create more jobs and providing the social protection system for those people, because it's all the new skills for most of people here. And skill is also important, especially for in a local government system. Traditionally, energy is a new work here. So we need to enhance education, training to fill the skill gaps. It's also critical. And next slide, we try to answer some questions. What kind of the works, what kind of the actions does the cities usually do? So we try to draw some information from the CDP cities program. So they have a comprehensive study based on their city reporting data. So as they know, what's the most popular field does the city usually do the action for the climate change, and especially the mitigation part. So we can highlight the 40 of the main part, including building, transportation, energy waste. So this four part is the highest potential for reducing information. It's also the practice the city and regions and counties already fulfill. So today's topics, we may focus on how can we optimizing our energy in building, how can we improve our energy performance well, and maintain its performance is also critical. And enabling the next generation mobility, including the electrifications, and we need more fuel cells, hydrogen, to as a replacement source for this next generation transportation system. And also very important part is also most of the goals when it comes to the renewable energy, is try to decarbonizing our electric grid, because the grid, if all provide the renewable energy, as is all of the energy can be decarbonized. So it's a 3 main role we're going to target here. And next slide is the legacy. So we just try to answer what's the legacy. Let's just a guideline for the global government to link it up the international standard and initiatives. And we also hope to highlight the role for the industrial participants. So because we know if we would like to make sure the quality of the energy policy and measures, we need to adopt any standards. And this standard also give the answers, the levels, how can we make sure the policy and program work well, and how can we help a government to produce a compliance system for make sure our regulations are very effective. So generally, legacies have a 6 dimensions, and each dimension have a several indicators. So totally, we have 32 indicators, including the local policy, operation transparency, and then energy infrastructure, residential policy, commercial policy, institutional policy, and innovation and interventional participation. So list 6 is all the core for legacy, and legacy is also the system. So we need some input, including the demand and expectation from the stakeholders and our city's current energy demand and supply and our current energy program. And let me produce the energy objective. We can help the city to develop the energy goals and objectives, and also potentially improve the energy program for the existing system. And also we need more requirements for energy regulation and core, because mandatory and compulsory measures is very important for city to speed up their energy transition work, and capacity building is very critical. And next I try to answer the questions, how is the legacy guidelines produced? So firstly, we conduct from the cross-domain literature review. So including the international organizations. So we talk on ISO, HRA, AC Industrial Association provide several good standards. And they also widely using the some United States and Canada cities, and we also hope more civil society can support our program. So we also review the previous sustainable cities initiative and certification system. And we also have done several case studies, especially from Trans-Taipei. We have many best practice from cities of the Chinese Taipei. I think Ishan may mention that later. And after that, we drafting the legacy guideline and also experienced 2 rounds expert review, and also have a public call for suggestions through our global smart solution report in 2021 and 2022. And we just published our guideline the early this year, 2023. And providing more trainings is the future main goal for us. And our guideline is also available in equally 100% renewable energy roadmap website. And also you can download here for our QR score. Next slide may mention that. And legacy provide multi-vendor values and benefits. So we target 3 main stakeholders here, including local government, civil society, and industry. So we believe legacy can share more best practice and identify the opportunity from the peer learning, technical supporting, consulting. It helps us to help local government to create more actions, programs, even regulation to support their energy transition policy. And because legacy only focus on energy piece, but CDP equally may focus on more wide scope. So we hope we can give more input for those kind of international initiatives. So legacy try to give more insight for more civil society, focusing on energy, renewable energy, energy efficiency, energy storage, those issues, and it can contribute the CDP equally reporting information more widely and more comprehensively. Yeah. And as I know, we always emphasize the role of industry, because we know if we don't have industry support, energy transition will not happen. So enable local authority to adopt and harmonize international standards is really important. So we mentioned several standards here, excluding HRA, ISO, IEC, and UL. It's all have so great standards, and experts spend hundreds hours, 1,000 hours to produce this great standard and pass several different reviews So I think it's very valuable for our energy policy and regulation. And this is just an example for how does the city apply for legacy guideline. So as mentioned that we have 6 policy issue we have to target it in Lagos, and each policy, each dimension have a prerequisite indicators and point indicators. And the prerequisite indicators means we believe if the local governments should be ready for energy transition, they have to meet for these kind of indicators first. Yeah. And the point indicator is the local government can prioritize their certain situation. Maybe they still C4 is more important than C3. So yeah, because cities are also different. They have different features, different characteristics. So they can usually draw what they want to work for the annual transition. And each indicators, we highlight object, required action to facilitate these measures. It's based on our local experience here, practice here. And we also require outcome and consequences, which we think is really important for reporting the performance of the energy governance. So we highlight here, and we also quarter several goods international standard when it comes to this issue. And the second part is our key element of legacy. So these slides just highlight the whole scope that the legacy would like to cover. And if we do not cover the issues, we focus on F1, innovative governments. So this means some issue we cannot cover at this stage. Maybe this version is not covered here, but next version, we will cover more issue here. So the light colorful box is mentioned the technical fields, including the energy efficiency, electrification, renewable energy, and grid harmonization. So it's also critical for us. And the rest of part is enabling policy and measures. So if we do not have this kind of work, we cannot to make sure our city, regions, county toward a sustainable energy system. So I think it's a basic work we need to do. And next slide is our first element here. And as we know, local energy policy operation is just ongoing cycle and process. So we usually need to start from collecting energy data, and energy data is not limited. We also need to collect more active data because that can explain why our energy consumptions grows is the drivers. So, or especially climate changing, climate conditions like cooling degree day, heating degree day is all the information we needed. And the second stage, we have some measures. So if we have data, we have measures. We have measures we can set in our energy goals and action. And we may focus on the demand side or supply side, or maybe the city may focus on the just transition. So the target energy poverty goal as a very critical part for the city. And as we know, traditionally, energy is a new work for the most local governments. So in, setting a spatial agency for energy is also critical, and we need interdepartments committee because energy is not independence policy. Independent policy is usually need to integrate so many different resources from different ministry, different departments at the regional level and local level. And so more different level of government engaged, including central government, state government is also very important to facilitate a local energy transition. And we need to respond to needs and expectations from stakeholders, more communications. And as we know, cash flow is a key for improving the energy efficiency, expanding the renewable energy source. So we need to make sure the cash flow can be freely mobilities in the system well. So how does we it's the reason we focus on the financing, we focus on the funding part is also very important. How can we encourage more private investment to energy efficiency and renewable energy? And after that, we need to monitor measurement inflation, especially our regulation compare rates, because most of the energy efficiency, energy saving may lose from the very bad combinations. So we need to check regularly is make our system work well. And second stage is the energy infrastructure. I think all for city and counties and local government already target renewable energy. They commit a very high percentage renewable energy goals and electric power generation system. However, most of renewable energy is variable. It means like solar panel, wind power is intermittency. It means it may stop, may stop and start regularly, repeatedly, and we cannot control their output so well. So it's the reason we need some flexible resource in the grid pool, including energy storage, electrification, and energy efficiency and renewable energy. Those kind of the flexible resource is a very critical resource to stabilize our electricity demand and supply, even we adopt more renewable energy. So that will be very critical to integrate each other well in the energy infrastructure part. And as we know, because we need to collect the data from the supply side and demand side, so smart energy data management system is also critical. It's also core. They may produce data. We have data. We can make sure our grid is very safe and secure and reliable. And as I mentioned, that energy efficiency is first fuel. So if we don't need to use so many energy, maybe we don't need to extort so many renewable energy, because all the energy may potentially damage our environment. So energy, we target energy efficiency beyond the building. And the next stage, we also have some measures focus on in the building site. And next slide is emphasize the building energy management system. So for the building energy management is the key to integrate energy efficiency. But once we, when it comes to the building energy, we often focus on efficiency, but it's not limited. We usually need to focus on demand response. We need to focus on how can we use the energy at the right moment, right time zone, because renewable energy source is intermittency. So we need to consider this fixture. So we usually start from energy audits. Sometimes some people don't like audit words. We use assessment or diagnosis. So this is first step to produce more potential opportunity to improve our energy efficiency, installing more renewable energy source at the building sites, and also create more demand response to stabilize the our energy system. Yeah. So if we focus on a just transition, maybe you may get interested in low-income energy efficiency assistance. So we also quarter so many different standards here. They may deal with different standards. So limited time, we cannot focus on those work so well, but just we need to do today. And we also need the people is the key, is a core for the whole energy system. So make sure our system well. So last today's topics, I just conclude here. And legacy guideline for local government to run energy transition and bridging the internet standard is very critical here. So the next stage, we would like to demonstrate more best practice by the peer learning and also the capacity training. I think we may focus on more international standards like ISO standards, HO standards, and lead the local public servants can understand why these standards are very critical for us. And because the new technology always come up every day, update every day. So maybe we need to review the guidelines for the coming future. So like district cooling, heating, hydrogen, fuel cell, just transition, community-based and engagements is all the issue we do not include at this stage. So we welcome more feedbacks, and maybe we may revise and consider more information and requirement for the next stage. Thank you so much. It's all today's.
Sure. Thank you so much, Raymond. That was very wonderful. That gave a very good insight about the Legris framework. If people need to download, we understand we need to scan the QR code that's provided, right? We provide some basic information and we will be able to download, right?
Yes, it's all can be downloaded from guideline. It's all open, and the site also be available from our weekly AOP, right?
Yeah, sure, Raymond. I just have one question before we move on to the next speaker. At the beginning, you have shown there are different elements, 5 different elements, and many stakeholders might be involved: industries, public. There are various stakeholders. How do you bring about the coordination between different stakeholders? Is there any insights that you want to share?
Yeah, for this part, we usually invite different experts from different mm, expertise. Maybe they focus on civil society engagements, they focus on the industrial side. So we usually try to get a balance from different sides, from the building, reviewing, and more discussions, and also drop more practice. It can be happen, and the research can be happen to the guideline. It's just real story we draw from the Chinese Taipei cities and put in the latest guideline.
All right, Raymond. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. We would like to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Eugene, who is present here. He is the Director General of Department of International Cooperation, Ministry of Economic Affairs. Welcome, Mr. Eugene. He is also the steering committee member of the Asia-Litz Partnership.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair and moderator of the seminar. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Mr. Eugene. So now I would like to welcome my colleague Yixing. She is the director of ICLIC Housing Capacity Center. She has more than 10 years of experience in climate adaptive urban design and resilient planning. She also has experience in a lot of organizing, training, facilitation, international program coordination for climate change subjects such as mobility, smart city planning, urban, low carbon development, etc. So welcome you, Yixing, to share the case stories from Chinese Taipei.
Thank you, Anahan. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, and thank you for the kind introduction, and happy to share some of the case studies of local energy transition in Chinese Taipei cities. Since I have 3 stories to share, allow me to go right into the presentation. Sorry, do I have to come? Okay. So why cities? We know that globally, city accounts for about 67% of global primary energy use and are responsible for 70% of energy-related greenhouse gas emissions. And as cities are direct consumers of energy, in many cases, they are also the regulators, target setters, planner, and facilitator of energy transition projects. So making the cities key actors in both national efforts to transition to a net zero future. So, and we ICLE have been working with professional partners like ITRI to support and translate some of the state-of-the-art tools and or policy into locally feasible ones. Sorry, my presentation was not, okay. So in Taiwan, at the national level, we have this strategic roadmap toward net zero transition. Energy transition has the most priority for a few reasons, because firstly, that Taiwan has total like CO2 emissions in 2021 that were 267 million metric tons, and the energy sector accounts for 75% of the direct CO2 emissions. And also, as an island state with limited indigenous energy sources, Taiwan rely very heavily on imports of fossil fuels for almost 97% of the energy supplies. So last year, when the national administration unveiled this plan to achieve net zero by 2050, energy transition is naturally one of the priority strategies, which it focuses actions on decarbonizing energy system, increasing energy efficiency, and improving grid resilience. Okay, so in alignment with national vision, cities and local governments in Taiwan also committed themselves to net zero 2050 targets. And here we can see that we have 22 cities that is all of our cities and counties have published their BORs and certainly have made official commitment to either net zero 2050 or has drafted local roadmaps. And 12 of them are in different stages of legislating net zero related actions into local autonomous law. So given net zero and low carbon city targets a certain level of legally binding framework. So it also can give local governments some of the orientations and enforcement power for coordinating actions, creating minimum standards, and the mechanism to maintain accountability of all stakeholders. So although cities have established themselves a critical role in mitigating climate change and decarbonizations, we here in local governments in general still have many challenges to overcome in terms of energy governance. Firstly is that the energy policy and planning has long been led by national governments, and local administration lack institutional support experience and has no clear division of authority and responsibility in terms of managing energy affairs. So only few of local governments here have established a one-stop window or task units mainly for implementing energy-related policy. And most of the energy-related actions are planned and implemented in different sectors. So without this institutional support, cities are also short of manpower and resources, and they also have no access to enhancing knowledge capacity of city officials. And cities also lack access to many locally based energy data, so they are unable to better analyze energy consumption to tap into the potential for energy saving or find proper solutions. So, and lastly, while any successful transition requires changes of behavior and social communications, we still have a long way to go to find a more diverse, inclusive mechanism for public engagement and make energy transition a collaborative movement. Oh, sorry. So today, despite all the challenges, and most of cities in Chinese Taipei are working towards decarbonized energy supply and emphasize strong alignments with national governments in achieving net zero. Today, I'm going to share 3 case stories that each focus on energy transition in different sectors relevant to their local profiles. So first, I would like to introduce Taipei City. This is a brief profile of Taipei's emissions. Taipei is the capital of Taiwan and then one of the populous municipalities. And the service industry makes up almost 80% of the city's industry. So most of the emission comes from residential and commercial sectors. And while transportation ranks the second, accounts for 20% of the emissions. So today we are going to share what's their actions in transportation sectors. So Taipei is also the first city in Taiwan announced local level energy policy white paper. So it also sets up midterm targets to reduce carbon emissions by 30% by 2030 compared to 2005, and 65% and by 2040, and achieve net zero emission by 2050. So one of the major pathways in the roadmap is low carbon green transportation, which emphasizes expanding the use of green transportation, creating an user-friendly environment, and introducing electric or even hydrogen vehicles. So some of the relevant strategies are implemented based on 3 principles: subsidize first, control later; large vehicle first, small vehicles later; and electric first, hydrogen later. So by using the city's public procurement power, the Taipei City first electrify all official vehicles and subsidize private vehicles to go electric. And since the city had launched the subsidy program in 2021, now the city has the largest share of newly scooters sold in markets, accounting for almost 25% of nationwide. So Taipei City is also very actively implementing the 4U policy initiative to integrate U-bike, U-motor, U-car, and U-parking services to make shared transportation easily accessible. And as of 2021, Taipei City has a total of 40,000 shared scooters, and the city now aims to have 22,000 shared scooters by 2030. Taipei City also has a plan for all city buses to go electric by 2030. The first fully electric bus line in Taipei opened in 2018. Now there are about 12% of buses are electric. This project is in compliance with the national plan to replace all city buses with electric counterparts by 2030. And now the city no longer subsidize diesel buses and invest in bus depots that equipped with charging stations. And however, the city still needs to overcome some of the issues of finding available sites for the bus depots, which are now considered NIMBY facilities. So that's for Taipei City case stories. So the second case story I'd like to share is the Building Energy Efficiency Program in New Taipei. New Taipei City is home to more than 4 million people, and a major city of business industry, second to Taipei City. And most of the city's carbon emissions comes from residential and commercial sector buildings, accounting for almost 40% of the city's total emissions. Residential building also has the largest energy consumption share of 54%. So the city has been very proactively targeting decarbonizing building sectors and laid out 31 action plans to reduce emissions of residential and commercial buildings. Okay, so you can see in this slide that city has a very comprehensive roadmaps for zero carbon targets for buildings. It has mapped out for these actions for both new buildings and existing buildings. For new buildings, the city focused on applying smart energy management and developing a set of incentives and regulations on promoting green building designs. And for existing buildings, which accounts more than 90% of building amounts, the city has to go further and take innovative measures, particularly in energy saving monitoring and raising energy efficiency of the buildings, which I will go further for the next slides. So in 2022, New Taipei City has launched this energy saving e-housing projects. Basically, it monitors and discloses the energy consumption of housing complexes based on calculating energy use intensity, which is EUI, of buildings' public facilities, and gives the building star ratings. So this system could support the residents committee to manage energy consumption more effectively and in turn enhance the energy saving measures. Another complementary project is e-housekeeper project. It provides active service and tools for individual households to track and manage their daily energy consumption based on their household EUI. So when we combine the two energy saving ratings, both public facility and individual households, we can know the energy efficiency of the whole building complex. So the highlights of this e-house and e-housekeeper project combined is that it actually established an interconnected management system of building energy efficiency that involves multiple stakeholders. So the entire system is based on the diagnosis and counseling of buildings' energy saving status. And then if a building registers to join the e-house projects, it will be given the star rating, and the rating will be disclosed by real estate agencies on their platforms. And so for home buyers or renters will have this access to such energy performance information, so they could make informed decisions. And as of today, there are more than 190 housing complexes apply for e-house projects, and 15 real estate agencies have joined in as project partners, and they are actively disclose the star ratings of these buildings. So it's a project that we can say it creates co-benefits with multiple stakeholders. And it works both for new buildings and existing ones, mostly existing ones. For a house building, the property management company could have better chance to renew its contract with the community because they have better and effective energy management. And so for developers, they could optimize their designs and facility plannings that in turns could change user behavior. And with the data gathered by the projects, the data will be fed into a city database. So the city could better evaluate the demand side of energy and provide value-added services. So that's the case for New Taipei. For the third case stories, I would like to introduce Pingtong's 100% renewable energy project. Pingtong is located at the south tropical part of Taiwan, and is known for its country landscape, natural and cultural resources. So it's different from the two cities I introduced. And tourism and agriculture are two their important economic sectors that have rapid growth. You can see that the agriculture sector has had a relatively larger share in energy consumption in Pingtong. So Pingtong is actually the first municipality in Taiwan joined the ICLEI's 100% renewable cities and regions network, and it's the first to set up the Green Energy Promotion Office, which is one-stop window specifically for energy development. So its active engagement of green energy started from 2009 after Typhoon Marak struck southern Taiwan and caused severe damage to the county, and particularly at the coastal areas where this area were heavily flooded and aggravated the issues of land subsidence and causing most of the land uncultivable, and even after the flood has subsided. So to support the recovery of local economy, so in combination with regenerate this uncultivated farmland or fish ponds, the county government proposed a program to repurpose these lands for installing solar panels. So in the meantime, it also provides alternative revenue for options for these farmers. And now the installed capacity of this project has total 23.5 megawatts. And it also motivates the city, motivate the county to commit to 100% renewables and kick off a series of sustainable energy actions later on. So why prioritizing solar energy? Actually, Pingtung is naturally blessed with high solar potential, for which there's sunshine over 300 days and an average of up to 4.7 hours per day. So it's much higher than the global average. So based on these beneficial conditions, the county has widely installed PV system on not just non-arable lands, but also public areas or facilities that are suitable for harvesting solar energy. For example, the dikes, landfills, and school rooftops. And as a result, last year, the county has announced that the household electricity in the county is fully generated from renewable energy sources, which is about a third of county's total consumption. And it also generates a grid connected to 1 gigawatt of renewable energy, including those from not just solar, but also from wind and biogas. And they developed this zero budgeting model and use it as a unique strategy to promote or scale up renewable energy in the project, especially for land subsidence area that starts with no financial support. So first, in order to motivate PV investors to engage in the projects, the county provides incentives such as waiving administrative fee and streamline administrative process. And the PV investor will gain profits from selling the electricity to Taipower with feed-in tariff. And for landowners or farmers, the county has developed a 20-year administrative contract and set up a green energy trust funds to ensure the landowners' rights is well protected. And the county itself, especially the Green Energy Promotion Office, will serve as the integrator and communicator in this model, and to make sure that the social co-benefits could be achieved. And lastly, and since the county has learned its lessons from natural disasters, it also emphasized the energy security and resilience of the vulnerable areas, particularly those from tribes or villages in the remote mountains. So it starts with the installment of disaster prevention microgrid system in indigenous areas, which accounts for 60% of the Pingtung's jurisdiction. The main purpose of the microgrid system is to provide like 72 hours of electricity for communities to maintain their basic life supports when the power grid is cut off due to disasters. So lastly, I would like to use this slide to highlight some of the key success factors that contribute to the best practice of the 3 case studies. And to sum up with the presentation, there's no one-size-fits-all solutions, but approach that is based tailored to local conditions. And the best case is always enhancing synergies and engage multiple stakeholders. And if you have, that will be the concluding slides. And so if you do have, thank you for listening. And I would also like to thank E3 and LLP Secretary and city members to support me with this fact and information of experience. And if you have more questions, please feel free to contact KCT for more information. Thank you. Back to you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Yixing. That was very well presented case studies. Before I invite the other speaker, I just have one question to you. What is the motivation for the cities to come up with these action? Is it guided by national government? Say if Pingtung has come up with 100% RE, does the same goal is there for other cities as well, or this city has chosen this? Where does this motivation or this comes from, this drive comes from?
Pingtung is a very unique cases because it comes from a struct from of typhoon, because it caused severe damage to their coastal areas and also aggravates the issue of land subsidence already in that area. So it's a unique case for them to find a way to help these impacted farmers to give them alternative revenues
Right.
while they can regenerate their land use. So it's a unique motivations for Pingtung. For other cities, they are also because now national level has set targets for 2050 to go net zero, and each cities and counties, they also making their own roadmap to reach 2050 net zero targets. And energy transition is one of the priorities, but they have different approach and different actions to focus in this.
All right, Yixing. Thank you so much. Yeah, maybe we'll discuss further in the subsequent session. So now it's time for us to invite our next speaker, Erwin Gamard. He's an engineer from Quezon City who supports renewable energy and energy efficiency initiatives in the city. He's an active member of the Institute of Integrated Electrical Engineers of the Philippines. He has vast experience in project cost reporting, project planning, and evaluation. We welcome you, Erwin, to present the case from Quezon City.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon once again. It's a great honor to be here representing the Quezon City's renewable energy and energy efficiency initiatives. And unfortunately, Architect Lucille Chua isn't available to present here today because she is engaged in an important meeting with our mayor. However, we are here with immense gratitude and appreciating the Asia-Led's partnership and the ICLEI KCC for extending this invitation to us. And this event provides us a valuable platform to convey our appreciation and share insights about our initiatives concerning renewable energy and energy efficiency and conservation. Okay. Sorry, I can't access the.
Maybe we can move the slides for you. Yeah.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Just a quick background on Quezon City. Quezon City is located. Oh, sorry. Can you go back this slide, please? Okay. It is located in the northeast portion of Metro Manila and the biggest city in terms of land area and population among the 7 cities and municipalities forming Metro Manila. The city's land area is more than 16,000 hectares with more than 3 million population and more than 65,000 registered business establishments. Next slide, please. The Quezon City's climate and sustainability actions, including our initiatives on energy efficiency and conservation, as well as renewable energy, are guided by the city's Enhanced Local Climate Change Action Plan 2021 to 2050. The plan shows the city's commitment to a climate strategy that is compatible with the objectives of the Paris Agreement, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and the Green and Just Recovery. This plan is an ambitious and evidence-based roadmap towards building climate resilience, pursuing carbon neutrality, advancing green economic development, and building a livable and quality community for all. Next slide, please. To ensure a responsive climate action plan, we have undergone a strategic process involving science-based approaches. We have built our evidence base with the conduct of greenhouse gas emission inventory in 2019 and climate risk assessment as well as scenario modeling in 2020. The city-wide greenhouse gas inventory covers stationary energy, transportation, and waste sectors following the Global Protocol for Community-Scale Greenhouse Gas Emission Inventories, or the GPC. This shows the potential energy efficiency and conservation also renewable energy and what this can contribute as we target an interim of 30% greenhouse gas emissions reduction by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2050. Next slide, please. As mentioned, 60% of cities' emissions in 2016 came from its stationary energy. This goes to show that the city's built environment gets the majority share of emissions and therefore suggests the need to prioritize these sectors for the city to be direct to a low and eventually zero emission economic pathway. Strategy 8 focuses on green, energy efficient, and resilient buildings. All sectors will be enjoined to achieve the objectives of this strategy, targeting 80 to 100% fully compliant buildings to the Green Building Code by 2030. As of now, we are currently amending the code to raise a minimum energy efficiency requirements for buildings and increase the rate of compliance towards a robust building energy code with appropriate incentives, including renewable energy installations such as the solar PV systems. Energy efficiency and conservation will also be promoted, aligned with the country's national energy efficiency and conservation program. Next slide, please. Renewable energy will play an important role in our climate mitigation plans. Strategy 9 aims to secure a clean and affordable renewable energy access with the Quezon City government leading the way. Currently, we have 6 buildings within the Quezon City Hall compound and 2 public schools that have installed solar PV systems. We also have an ongoing initiative to initially solarize 50 public schools and 3 government-owned hospitals. This will be expanded in other public schools and city-owned facilities to promote the use of the technology in other sectors, which can significantly reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Our plan is to solarize 100% of our public schools and other key government buildings that are feasible for solar PV installations. Next slide, please. With the passing of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act in 2019, Quezon City is more than ever empowered to deliver programs that reduce energy demands, promote utility savings, and cut emissions. Strategy 10 targets the mainstreaming of energy efficiency and conservation in government-owned buildings and facilities. The government is required to submit a local energy efficiency and conservation plan, or the LEECP, and also implement the Government Energy Management Program, or the GEMP, to reduce electricity and fuel consumptions annually. Some initiatives we are currently undertaking is the replacement of lighting systems into LED and the installation, retrofitting, repair, and maintenance of the city's street lights through the implementation of integrated energy efficient street lighting program, and among others. Last April, and the Honorable Mayor issued Executive Order Number 15 designating the Quezon City Energy and Conservation Officers, creating the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Technical Working Group, and also assigning an Energy Efficiency and Conservation focal person per city department and office to ensure compliance to the RA 11285 and lead the preparation and implementation of the local energy efficiency and conservation plan. Next slide, please. The city's initiative on renewable energy and energy efficiency are based on these two national legislation. First is the Renewable Energy Act, or the RA 9513 of 2008, which aims to accelerate exploration and development of renewable energy resources, providing fiscal and non-fiscal incentives to promote renewable energy, efficient and cost-effective commercial applications, and institutionalize the development of national and local capabilities in line with the use of RE systems, and achieve energy self-reliance by adopting sustainable energy development strategies to reduce dependence on fossil fuels, hence minimizing the country's exposure to price fluctuations in the international market, and the adoption of clean energy to mitigate the effect of climate change to effectively prevent or reduce harmful emissions to balance the goals of economic growth and development while protecting the health and the environment. Next slide, please. Second is the Republic Act 11285, or the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, or RA 11285 of 2019, which aims to institutionalize the energy efficiency and conservation as a national way of life geared towards the efficient and judicious utilization of energy. And second, promote and encourage the development and utilization of efficient renewable energy technologies and systems. And lastly, ensure a market-driven approach to energy efficiency, conservation, sufficiency, and sustainability. Next slide, please. The most recent efforts undertaken by the cities are focused on enhancing energy efficiency and encouraging conservation, which involves the implementation of the following initiatives. First is the transportation sector, circular economy, and energy sector. Next slide, please. In transportation sectors, there are different programs. First is the bus augmentation program. The city introduced a new public transportation initiative that involves deploying 100 buses along 8 different routes that the citizens are able to ride for free, aiming to improve accessibility and convenience for everyone in the city. The roads are strategically planned to cover various areas, including residential, commercial, and educational zones, providing efficient connectivity. More than 8.5 million passengers have been served by this free public transportation system that is the first of its kind operated by an LGU in the country. The city is also ensuring proper staffing, infrastructure, and safety measures to make this initiative successful and beneficial for all citizens. Another program is the electric tricycle program, or the e-trike. A total of 278 e-trikes have been allocated to operators and drivers in the city since 2020. Additionally, there are plans for future expansion of this initiative and 24,000 traditional tricycles for replacement. The city is considering the installation of solar electric charging stations in various locations across the city. This move aims to promote eco-friendly transportation options and support the growing number of electric vehicles, including e-tricycles, in the area. Another initiative is the active mobility. This promotes the use of eco-friendly transportation options, such as bicycles, among the public. Currently, the city has developed an extensive bike lane system spanning approximately 90 kilometers, equipped with comprehensive facilities and safety measures to support and protect the cyclists. The city has ambitious plans to expand its bike network significantly, aiming to reach a total length of 350 kilometers in the coming years. This expansion will further promote eco-friendly transportation options, enhance cycling infrastructure for the benefits of residents and visitors alike. Lastly, improvement of the pedestrian lanes. The city is implementing a network of pedestrian lanes that will seamlessly connect various road centers, ensuring easy and safe movement for pedestrians throughout the urban or the city. And creating a walkable and pedestrian-friendly environment is the key aspiration for the city. The goal is to design spaces that prioritizes the safety and convenience of pedestrians, promoting active lifestyle, reducing reliance on motor vehicles, and enhancing the overall quality of life for the residents. Next slide, please.
Mr. Irwin, we request to
Yes, sir.
wrap it a little quick as we are running out of time. Yeah, sorry about that.
This slide shows the e-vehicle program and the bus augmentation program of the cities. Next slide, please. And this one is the initiative for the promotion of the usage of bicycles as means of transportation. Next slide, please. And this one is the proposed green lung network for the city, connecting different areas for the pedestrian, which includes also bike lanes. Next slide, please. For the circular economy, one program is the trash to cash back program, which the city actively encourages its residents to participate in recycling initiatives and emphasizing the collection of recyclables and single-use plastics. The city promotes waste segregations to ensure the residents to separate their waste into appropriate categories and contributing to more sustainable and environmental friendly community. This initiative, the city has implemented on innovative environmental points program where residents can earn points for the recyclables and single-use plastics they collect, and they can be redeemed this and pay the utility bills and purchase groceries. And the next program is the Vote to Tote program, which was launched last 2022, utilizing 70 metric tons of tarpaulin used during the previous elections and transforming them into bags by the women of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, or the BJMP. And on the organic waste, these initiatives is to use biodigesters for our community farms and public markets. And we also distributed 6 biodigesters to our community farms and 2 public markets as a first step for this initiative. And for the food rescue, through the collaborative effort with the Scholars of Sustenance, the city aims to tackle food waste and food insecurity in an innovative way. The partnership involves rescuing surplus food or unsold food, but safe to eat food from various sources and redistributing it to those in need. By doing so, this initiative not only reduces food waste, but also addresses hunger and provides support to vulnerable communities. Next slide, please. This is the Trash to Cash Back program. Next slide, please. Then the biodigesters used in farms and markets. Next slide, please. Then the Vote to Tote program. Next slide, please. For the energy sector, one initiative or program is the solarization program. The city has taken a proactive initiative to transition towards sustainable energy by solarizing its 3 public hospitals and selected public buildings and schools. And this effort aims to harness solar power to meet the energy needs of these healthcare facilities, reducing their carbon footprint and reliance on traditional energy sources. Then replacement of LED lights. The city has undertaken a significant initiative to enhance energy efficiency by replacing traditional lighting with any LED lights for street lights. And this transition to LED technology will not only reduce energy consumption, but also contribute lower maintenance costs and a greener environment. And for the design of green infrastructure on public buildings, integrating energy efficient fixtures and equipment into building design to help minimize energy consumption and reduce the city's carbon footprints. The city embraces renewable energy solutions by incorporating solar energy systems in building designs. And additionally, the design of buildings incorporates features such as energy efficient air conditioning systems, passive cooling techniques, and optimized daylighting strategies. Next slide, please. For the this shows the solar PV installations in 2 of our public schools buildings. Next slide, please. An initiative on LED street lighting in one of our streets here in the city. Next slide, please. The QC Green Building Code Amendment is an ongoing amendment of our Green Building Code to raise the minimum energy efficiency requirements for new buildings and increase the rate of compliance towards a robust building energy code. Next slide, please. For the next steps, we have a ongoing program together with the City 40 UK Climate Action Implementation Program, and these actions is to expand and the adoption of renewable energy in the government-owned, private, and residential buildings, and policies and actions on energy efficiency, including the enhancement of the local green building code and incentives for energy efficiency and conservation. Next slide, please. And for the SCAP, this Developing Sustainable Energy Transition Roadmap for Quezon City. For the SCAP initiative, assistance is provided for Quezon City in the development of sustainable energy transition roadmap using the National Expert SDG tool for energy planning, or the Next Step tool. This roadmap will contain a matrix of technological options and enabling policy measures for the city to consider, as it will present different scenarios highlighting 3 key indicators: the economic, social, and financial implication of each scenario. The city would be supported to make informed decisions to develop and implement a set of policies to achieve city's target for the energy sector, along with the national and global goals and targets. And next slide, please. Thank you, and that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Raman, for presenting the initiatives taken by the Quezon City. We really appreciate that. Also, we are sorry for running late. We are a little bit late on this session. Maybe we'll take 2-3 minutes more. If there are any questions from participants, you can raise your hand. We'll take 1 or 2 questions, and then maybe we'll close. Yeah, Mr. Eugene, please.
Okay. I don't have a specific question. I just want to use this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to the ALP Secretariat for organizing this wonderful online seminar. And I also want to express our thanks to our colleagues from Chinese Taipei and the Philippines for sharing the insight about how to prevent and how to improve the goal to the net zero emission. So we are all understand the urban centers now play an important role in global energy consumption and the greenhouse gas emission. The imperative of expedite energy transition at the local level has never been more pressing. Chinese Taipei recognize the urgency for taking swift action to address these challenges. So therefore, my colleagues from the E3 and from the ICLEI Kaohsiung, they are happy to share their insight and the knowledge with our ALP colleagues. So once again, I want to express our gratitude for ALP Secretary and members of ALP, those involved in making this event possible. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Eugene, for the support that you render for the Secretariat. We have just one question I will ask, then maybe we can leave. Okay, there is one question from a participant. Can Ritvik unmute Salil? So in the meantime, maybe any of the speakers can answer to this. This is a generic question that we have. What do we do with the unpredictable global energy future, and how do we, at a global level, we have a different dimensions. There's energy security issues, but at the local level, we have energy pricing, environmental sustainability. There are different factors. How do a city plan for this issue at a local level, which is a global problem? Yixing, would you like to answer?
Yes. As I mentioned, that Taiwan is a state, island state. So energy security is one of the priority issues for us, especially when we have most of our fuels and energy imported from other countries. So that's why we are trying to develop to diversify our sustainable energy profile. And we have set this policy goal to reach like 20 gigawatts by 2025. And right. So and now we are trying to engage all the stakeholders, including the private sectors and public sector, to all and also the civil society to all engage in to try to make our energy security more robust. Yeah, right. That's my brief answer to the question.
Yeah, thank you, Yixing. We will just take one question from the participant. Yes, please go on.
Yeah, I just want to echo the Yixing's mention that I think there's very clear goals there. Just we need to lower the import energy used to disconnect the import energy and impacts. But we know, I think Chinese Taipei is struggling with a very high rapid energy price, because 98% energy is imported energy. So what we need to do is energy efficiency, because if we reduce energy, we can reduce the rely from the import energy source. So it's a global to impact local. But if we can control something, the work we can do at the local level, that will be the most effective way to disconnect the impacts by the global market. But it's very challenging, but we still can reduce as fast as we can at local level. It's my feedback for you. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for that insight, Raymond. We'll just take one question from the participant. Salil, please go on.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you to ICLEI, the moderator. This question goes to both Raymond and Jingzhu. Anybody can answer. The one way to ensure energy security, particularly given the habitats are all bounded either by sea or by it. This is a thought I would like to present, being a sustainability practitioner, the mobility of a habitat. By that I mean, say Indonesia is trying to move their capital from one location to another. So in that context, how it helps is the over clutter can be avoided, and that will be very much helpful in providing the energy transition, even the water security, and also controlling waste. I leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally, for your feedback. I think your concern is how can we consider the energy into our urban design. So moving, I think my coworker from Indonesia also mentioned you are moving your capital, the city from different regions to another one. But we need to focus on is if we try to reduce uh, the quota of cities and regions, we also need to make balance between the land used. But in Chinese Taipei case, we have limited land use. So if we reduce the population density in specific region, it also means we need more land to be used. So, and especially renewable energy need usually have more abundant resource from the countryside, like wind power, offshore power, and we also need the infrastructure to connect those resources. If we live very far away, and we need to connect those resources to different regions, so it's also make sure our energy infrastructure is ready. So it could be the feedback from my side. I'm not sure. Ishan, I would like adding something, or Evan would like add something else.
Thank you, Raymond. Do
Thank
Ishin,
you. Thank you. Let's keep
admin
it
has any-
at that. Thank you, moderator.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Salil. So maybe we will close the session for now. Further questions we will send to the speakers and get the answers, and we will distribute. We will send it to the participants. Also, we will send this recording and the presentations for your reference. If there are any further questions, you can write to Asia Leads Partnership. We'll try to answer it. And thank you for the patience and the support. Thank you to all the wonderful speakers that we have today, Yixing, Raymond, and the representative from Qusan, Ermin. Thank you all so much. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.